Hello there, this is Nerd World Empire, and part of the Xindi series we're looking at Dolim, Commander Dolim, the Xindi Reptilian, member of the Xindi High Council, and probably one of the worst people of his time. A great military leader, fascist, brutal killer, and generally all-around bad guy. We have Commander Dolim. Before we get started, like, share, subscribe, comment down below, and let's get to the biography of this zealot. Now, Commander Dolim, as I said, was a Xindi Reptilian, member of the 5 remaining Xindi species. He was a representative of his particular race amongst the Xindi Council. He was a high-ranking military officer. It's not known exactly what government structure each of the individual Xindi races had, although they clearly had some level of local to their species administrative powers, as the Xindi fleets and organizations were generally controlled by the respective individual races. Although cooperative with one another, they were quite different. See my episode on the Xindi species. The Reptilians were known to be particularly belligerent, and Dolim was no exception to this rule. Even amongst the Reptilians, he was something of a harsh and brutal individual. He had spent a lifetime of service in the military and serving the greater Xindi people. Upon learning of the threat posed by humans allegedly to their species, given this information by the Sphere Builders, he was amongst the first to advocate for swift and decisive military action. Now, in the early stages, it was sort of been simply invasion, but they needed to be more thorough. They basically needed to make sure humanity didn't survive. The first suggestion by the Reptilians was to use a bioweapon. It seemed like the easiest, most efficient way to do it, but there were too many variables, and the others decided against it. He was also the one who was constantly pushing Degra to finish the weapon that they eventually decided upon building. Each of the 5 races contributed something different to the weapon. It's not known exactly what Dolim and the Reptilians contributed, but it was probably mostly in the lines of defending the damn thing and working it. The Reptilians as a whole were an aggressive people, and as I said, Dolim was no exception. His marital status is unknown, as is the general status of relationships amongst the Xindi. He is known from a family level to have had at least one daughter, and at one time he had a grandson who died under shadowy circumstances. Allegedly, Dolim is accused, at least behind closed doors, no one would dare accuse him to his face, of having his own grandson poisoned due to the fact that upon his birth he was born with a minor deformity in one of his arms that, although not life-threatening, excluded him from ever joining the military. Dolim, being a career military officer and seeing nothing tunnel vision than the military, saw this as unacceptable, and allegedly, as much as the others would like to believe that even Dolim was not capable of this, had his own grandson poisoned. It's not known if this was true or not. It could have simply been a reputation he probably deserved, but maybe was not actually guilty of. We can't really testify to that. It's not known if he had any other family members. The Reptilians, as I said, were the most belligerent amongst the Xindi, even compared to the insectoids, it would seem. And they were the ones who were strongly against any form of alliance with the humans or listening to the humans against the Sphere Builders. When the other Xindi began to listen to the words of Degra and the other Xindi council members that had begun to be swayed against the Sphere Builders, Dolim, probably more out of a sense of wanting more power for himself and his specific faction of Xindi, rather than any real faithfulness to the Sphere Builders, or the Guardians as they called them, was quick to switch sides. He made the illusion that he was listening to humanity. This was after, of course, trying to destroy Enterprise, torturing Archer, sending Rajin in to gather biometric data on humans, probably to perfect a bioweapon, all kinds of things like that. Very, very nasty stuff in general. He handpicked the officer that flew the weapon that attacked Earth and killed over 7 million people. He was not a nice man, but he made pretense that he was willing to listen to the evidence against the Guardians. Well, in fact, he was conspiring behind the backs of all the other Xindi, including the insectoids, who remained faithful allies, at least at first, to the Reptilians in this crusade, to put his people at the top of the pecking order amongst the 5 Xindi races, to put his race in charge. Probably a catastrophic mistake, as the Reptilians are a little fiery and quick-tempered and generally belligerent people, and I'm not saying all of them are like that, but certainly the ones in power do seem to be that way. And as I said, although we don't know much about the individual government structure of any of their individual races, the fact that a military officer is their representative to a democratic council, it probably seems that they have some kind of military dictatorship. amongst their specific faction. It could also be the same thing about the insectoids. And to be honest, as the other Xindi seem to also wear uniforms, it may have been a military autocracy anyway. But that's hypothetical, we don't really know. Dolim, as I said, conspired with the Guardians to continue the attack on humanity in exchange for the Guardians helping the Reptilians become the leaders amongst the other Xindi. He would also kill Degra, believing him to be a traitor for being the advocate for humanity and turning on the grand plan that the Xindi had for their survival and the destruction of humanity, and basically continuing to listen to the Guardians. He would betray the other members of the council, steal the weapon to go and attack Earth, him and the insectoids. They would go to war with the other Xindi for their best interests as a Xindi as a whole, take the weapon to Earth, and came very close to actually being able to deploy it and destroy humanity before himself being blown up by an explosive device placed on him by Captain Jonathan Archer after a hand fight between the two officers. Something that must have been incredibly satisfying for Archer, as he actually took a moment to look at the ruined corpse of his enemy, something evolved humans in the future don't normally do. But considering just how evil this individual was, and there is no other word for him, his unwillingness to listen to reason, his ease of which he was willing to commit mass genocide, all point to the fact that this was not a man of great conscience, but a man of great ego, arrogance and aggression, and a bloated, likely sense of self-worth after a lifetime of successful military career. In a way, it was a sad end to what was probably a fine military officer overall. The weapon that he had prized to destroy humanity and probably be his ticket to ultimate power amongst the Xindi was destroyed, all of his dreams laid bare and burnt, and good riddance. An evil individual that the galaxy was better off without. And if you agree or disagree with that assessment, put it in the comments below. That was Commander Dolim of the Xindi. As I said, not the hero we needed, or the hero we wanted, nor the hero that we deserved. He was just the monster of our nightmares. And that is the end of that video. I just want to take this moment to thank you for watching that video. If you liked what you saw, please check out my social links in the description box below to Instagram and Twitter and others, and also is down there a link to my Patreon page where you can support this channel and the others as I try to grow this franchise and do this more regularly. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you for watching, and bye bye.